consciousazine.com Chronicles.
Today's video, Organic Portal Universe, Big Love Waves and how to use OP Universe. So, ultimately at the eschaton, which was like a mirror for seeing how informational complexity would concress and compress into a singularity. And the whole view of the eschaton, or the end times, or the end period into 2012 was this. You could follow the lines, you could surf the concrescence to the eschaton. And that's something that I did. And it's like surfing the complexity, and it's funny, in the end, I ended up studying IT and became not really more loving, but figured out ways to express the love even more. So another ring of love in my life. And you know, love was at the end, psychedelia was at the end of the eschaton. And I mean informationally, not just me taking that or doing that, but what was in the general environment being empowered, and the trends, you know. So there was big love waves in 2011, the unity waves, you know. And the universe is loving, expanding oneness in the end. And how to use the OPs is, you know, there's a couple of ways I've seen it. Like, you know, if you're negative and you say OPs are all, you know, sheeple, for instance, that word that people use, sheeple. And so instead of being negative, you can use that to your advantage. And you know, there's many ways of doing that these days, on the internet especially, how to take advantage of sheeple effect. Just sometimes even talking yourself up. I've seen so many examples on YouTube and social media where people sort of act above their pay grade, you know. Sort of fake it till you make it attitude. I've had many people use that sort of energy, I've seen anyway. And so that's one way to do it, because you act like, oh look, other people you know, demand me and so on, and people coming in are like, oh well, you know, they feel like it's special or something. I mean, we all have this feeling of, if someone's harder to access, maybe, oh, that means that they're in high demand and so on. Stuff along those lines of thought, those types of thoughts, you know, that line there. So it's like using the sheeple effect and being positive with it. And you can do that if you do it right, you know, and you word things right and so on. Then you can get the energy of the constituency or people behind you. So, as a souled human, supposedly coming from not this universe, you can wield this entire universe with basically your thought. It's like forever you can, you know, freeze yourself in time and save yourself in time to be remembered, and become a hyperspatial line instead of just an ego dot. For instance, someone who's just working for someone else the whole of their life and the rest of their life, and brings nothing of their own to the table, so to speak, is more of an ego life, because you spent time on yourself more in a way that was not helping the species or the universe go forward. And so I have that little idea of be a hyperspatial line, So you remembered, people can go back to your work, what you showed at least, or highlighted in the universe. Maybe that's all it ends up being. But at least what you highlighted, so that people can look at it clearly, you know. And along the lens of time and through time. So you become a hyperspatial line instead of ego dot life by doing your great work, and so you can combine all these effects together. Another way to use organic portals is to manipulate your own energy. If you're happier, well, just on the law of attraction alone, you will attract certain Taris, certain OPs, NPCs to align with you. It's very similar to how if you anionize the anion negative charge state, one anion aligns 1 million water molecules, so just one. So it's the same thing with the souled human. We can be 1,000,000 times stronger in speech, for instance, because we're walking along the middle way and sort of speaking in a whole tone and bringing the whole picture, not just little shards or pieces of the picture, in this remembrance of bringing back the light. In OP universe here, which seems to be very computeric-like, and it's funny that at the first eschaton, this major time cycle of becoming 20 billion years perhaps, up to that long, and all the systems of swirling galaxies and all this representing time wheels and complexity dancing itself into creation. And at the end, it's funny, at the end there was love waves, and psychedelic waves were at the end, and love. So it's pretty interesting if you take that example as the fourth example of how to use OP Universe is by love, and that fourth example of love can be reverberated infinitely, so many infinitely directions and ways, because it's fourth dimensional in the way there's infinite experience allowed of the feeling of depth, of feeling of tone, etc. And so if you have certain type of love, you will attract on that level, obviously. So that's that law of attraction sort of ideas, and that works, it's just vibratory. But, so there's 4 examples, and then a 5th one. Let's think. Well, how they're all into being facsimile and face value. So things like Facebook is a good way to penetrate their society, because you can go on and simplify yourself so it's no extra work, whereas for them, in this battle unsaid, it's much harder for them to work against us and create complexity. If we can infiltrate in simpler domains, you would think that'd be easier for us to win, us versus them. And that's an acronym people are using: United Souls, us, and versus them, trivial humans establishing mayhem. And I like that acronym, it's a good one, because that's the silent war, and it's a 4th dimensional love feel war as well. And so there's infinite variety in the 4th dimension of feeling that you can feel. Anyway, you can manipulate by manipulating your own energy, basically. In the end, you modulate your own energy, frequency, the amplitude, the phase, what you're talking about, who, when, where, why, and try to figure out, well, if there is a river flow, it makes sense to find how that river flow works, the legendary Tao, and the river flow of evolution and light, and the river of heaven, basically, flowing into matter, which seems to be some sort of encapsulating place. The vibration slows down, becomes a 2nd dimensional surface, like a capturing net of the higher dimensions, where the higher dimensions always add on to the lower dimensions, and that's how creation occurs. in a low down, up, from the top down mechanism. And so you can work the same way if you are in a top position in society. So if you make it by numbers, I don't know, maybe you're at a big firm or corporation, maybe you're your own news media like I am. I'm now at 2,500 subscribers almost, and that makes me a little media company. And thanks guys for tuning in. And in the end, love seems to be one of the highest, or the highest, repository, or it doesn't seem to be just a fourth dimensional emotion or energy tangential motion. Love seems to permeate all the dimensions, wherein even in the second dimension you can fall in love with the comfort of body or embodiment, which is found in second dimensional feeling or mana energy. Mana energy is very earthly energy, and it's like denser than prana, denser than kundalini even, and more worldly assorted, like gems with personality, not so much like chi is fifth dimensional life force, and then there's Reiki, which gives sort of rays, and with kundalini in the fourth dimension you can modulate your emotion a lot and brain chemistry. So there's different levels of healing and the universal dimensions of light within yourself. You're multi-dimensional. And so when we take psychedelics, it just appears that these inner dimensions within us that are us, part of us, and how we are a dense being, it's the insides of us that are invisible that we see. So I do recommend psychedelic trips on natural fungi and plant hallucinogens to increase your vision, inner vision of yourself and its universe, like your inner universe. And that's how we're thinking about it here too, tethering to microcosmic singularity. When you tether to microcosmic singularity, if everything you say has a core centrism, then people can relate to it. So that's another way to align people. And so we end up seeing that it doesn't have to be sinister, no sinister motives. It can even be done with the opposite of sinister, with love motions. How to manipulate organic portals and organic portal universe. This is Benjamin Kallenberg from consciousazine.net.